Hi, this is Quinlan, and it is a pretty hot summer now up here in mid-July in North Japan. If you're going to be in North Japan and you're looking for a place to cool off, I recently visited a place that is a perfect 13 degrees Celsius, that's about 55 degrees in freedom units, all year round. That is also a really fascinating piece of Japanese history. It is the oldest mine in Japan and also one of the largest ones. And I would be willing to bet that it's one of the longest operating mines in the entire world. This mine was operating continuously from around the year 708, that's right at the beginning of the Nara period, all the way until 1978. Take a look at the Osarizawa mine in Kazuno, Akita. If you're visiting in the summer, you may want to bring a little jacket though, because that 13 degrees actually starts to feel pretty cold. It's also 90% humidity in there all year round. So cold and clammy is perhaps an apt description, but it is really cool. The mine, back in the Nara period, was originally a gold mine. And in fact, you may have heard of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, Hiraizumi, where the Chusonji Konjigido, that golden pavilion in Hiraizumi during the 11th century was built. The gold from that, or some of the gold from that, was from this mine. Of course, they mined from other areas as well. This entire area of Tohoku was full of gold mines in that period. After the gold ran out, it continued as a copper mine, and they also were able to get a lot of pyrite out of it as well. If you visit, you can walk through 1.7 kilometers, that's a little over a mile, of tunnels that are open to the public. It's just a 1,000 yen, or what is that, $7 admission fee to get in, and it is oh so worth it. I would be talking to you from the inside of the tunnel, but they're playing announcements and music and things like that, so the acoustics didn't work well for talking. And so it's a nice excuse for me to zip up to my favorite volcano and talk to you up here. For about 1,000 years, people dug in this mine entirely by hand, using just simple small explosives. Then, around the Meiji Restoration in the late 1860s and the 1870s, some better techniques, and around 1900, they used a lot more mechanized techniques and were able to build a lot more tunnels a lot quicker. And so it was really the first 100 kilometers of tunnels were built over those first 1,000 years. And it was really just in the last 100 or so years that the other nearly 600-700 kilometers of tunnels were built. And there's one other thing about this mine that is interesting and perhaps creepy for some. It's filled with mannequins. In order to illustrate the mining techniques, the working style, the ways that things were done in the mine, they have put dozens of mannequins all over the mine. And in some cases, they've got speakers playing the music and the songs and the talking of the people. And it's kind of creepy, but really interesting. It's definitely very Showa, so to speak. It was built during the Showa period, and it really does feel like that. Some people who get claustrophobic may feel kind of terrified in this mine because you're walking for over a mile, for 1.7 kilometers deep into this mountain. And of course, it's completely safe. It's you're only going in, of course, the safest level tunnels. You're not going very far up or down. And of course, the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami happened, and the mountain was rock solid. Nothing collapsed. So it's completely safe to go in. It's fine. But keep that in mind if you are claustrophobic, of course. And you can spend as much time as you want exploring these. There's a couple other interesting things that I'd like to point out about the mine. One interesting thing about the mine's history is that it says in the documentation on some of the signs that you go there that it was actually a place that a lot of the hidden Christians during the 17th century went to hide. Specifically, there was a rebellion in the first half of the 16th century, way down by Nagasaki. It was called the Shimabara Rebellion, I believe. And during that, a lot of Catholic Japanese participated in a peasant revolt. And there were more than 30,000 peasants executed when they put down that rebellion. And so there was a huge number of people fleeing that area, including a lot of these hidden Christians. And the mine here was a great place that it was a special administrative district. A lot of people were able to be undocumented, unregistered, and do migrant labor there. And so apparently they found a lot of secret crosses carved into various hidden nooks and crannies in the tunnels of this mine, so that these secret Christians were there praying deep underground in this mine, keeping their faith alive, even as they went through dangerous conditions and backbreaking labor there. There are a lot of places in Tohoku actually that are related to these hidden Christians, or the Kakure Christian. And no, I'm not talking about the grave of Christ, of Jesus Christ. That is a tourist destination up near Hachinohe in Aomori. There is a place that is advertised and written up as the grave of Christ, but I don't think anyone actually takes that seriously. There was basically a joke of a local that was made a number of decades ago that is just still there. It's very tongue-in-cheek. No, I'm talking about actually about serious locations that are related to the martyrdom of the hidden Christians that in some cases were local villages, in other cases people who had come from other areas fleeing persecution and then were eventually discovered there as well. I actually made a video a couple of years ago about a cave that was dug out in the mountains, the old mountain range in Akita, where there is still a little cross placed there, and the people would pray until they eventually were caught and put to death. They were martyred. From the early Meiji period on, the mine actually was operated by Mitsubishi and a number of other large corporations, but mainly Mitsubishi. And they still own the land and the mine now, though they're renting it out to a company in Niigata that operates it as this tourist destination, because it's a really interesting piece of history. And I think most of the people who visit it are school trips, a lot of kids, or just local families, but it's really worth going to. And while you're in the area, there's a really nice gorge that you can see also in Kazuno that you can walk around. And the whole area is just full of great things to see. This rural northern Akita area is full of fun stuff. One way that the mine is actually being used now is that local sake breweries are putting their sake there to mature, because you've got incredibly stable temperatures. It really does stay right at 13 degrees Celsius all year round there. And so it's perfect for maturing sake or wine, if that's the right temperature that you want to put it at. And so there is a wine cellar in there, and in the gift shop right outside of the mine, you can buy sake that was matured for a number of years inside this ancient mine. The mine closed in 1978 due to falling copper prices and just more competition from abroad. They weren't able to basically make money with all the labor costs and everything else anymore. And so it closed. Those of you who have watched my video about the Matsuo sulfur mine in Hachimantai will remember that that mine, when it closed and went out of business around 1970, left an environmental disaster. Basically, rainwater goes into these huge mines and touches all of the exposed acidic ores and heavy metals, things like that, and then flows into the river, poisoning it, affecting the pH, and basically killing all plant or animal life rather in the river and making it dangerous to drink as well. And so now Iwate Prefecture for the Matsuo mine is footing the bill, because that business just went under. And so there's several millions of dollars in cost every year that Iwate Prefecture is paying to operate the water purification plant, which keeps the seepage from the mine from poisoning the Kitakami River. Now, in the case of the Osarizawa mine in Kazuno, it was run and operated by Mitsubishi. And Mitsubishi, as you may know, is doing just fine. And so they did build a water purification plant afterwards, because this mine has the same problem. Rainwater goes in and comes out too acidic and with some toxic heavy metals from deep underground. And thus, this water is also, just like that water coming out of the mine in Hachimantai, being purified before it goes into the water table and into the local rivers. Though in this case, the company is actually being responsible, and it's not our taxes footing the bill, thankfully. The city of Kazuno is north of Hachimantai, sort of in that place near where Aomori, Iwate, and Akita prefectures all meet. It's not really accessible by mass transit, and so if you want to go there, you likely will have to rent a car, but it's easy to drive in that area. Of course, you could always hire a guide like me to take you to the mine as part of a full-day excursion of other things in that area. There is a lot of stuff to do around there. And if you come in the right time of year, there's some really cool festivals as well. Do you think all the mannequins are spooky? Personally, I don't like all of the loudspeaker announcements that they have going on in most of the mine. Throughout most of the mine, there is some sort of announcement or music or reenactment going on. And some of it is interesting. Like some of the old Edo period songs that they have playing that the miners would sing is pretty cool, and I do like that. But generally speaking, I think the atmosphere would be much better if they just cut the loudspeaker off and had just the sound of your footfalls and the dripping water, because again, 90% humidity, it's always kind of dripping from the top there. I think that would be better. What do you think? Do you like the mannequins showing the activities of the miners and the peoples? Or do you think it would be better just to have it empty? I mean, obviously nothing's going to change. We're not signing a petition here to get them to change it or anything. I'm just curious. Do you think the mannequins add to it or take away from it? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're new to my channel, let me tell you that I am a local guide. I work all over Japan, but mainly up here in North Japan, taking people to beautiful mountains and volcanoes like where I'm standing right now. Also on the MCT, that 1,000-kilometer coastal trail that goes along Iwate. And in town, I'm a certified sake sommelier, and so I'm happy to take people around tours of local sake breweries as well. And I am in the process of devising a number of day tours and activity experiences that will give you some of the highlights of the hidden gems that you find up here in this so seldom visited area of North Japan. You can find links to my site and other socials in the description of the video. If you're thinking of going somewhere authentic, somewhere off the beaten track, and somewhere with a lot of natural beauty, then consider coming and letting me take you around and share the history of this northern area up from the Jomon peoples through the Emishi lost tribes down into the Fujiwara clan and what they did here, all the way into the modern era. I love telling stories about the history of this area as well as sharing its stunning beauty in places that really aren't filled with tourists at all. In fact, they're under-trafficked. We have the opposite problem of over-tourism up here. We need more. Less than 2% of people still visit this northern area. And so if you are interested in helping regional development, then yeah, come visit this area. The locals will love you for it. All right, I've been up here all day. I should get out of the sun. It is hot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the trails.